Hi everyone. So I think let's get going, and I will share my screen. We'll keep the session interactive so that if any of you have any queries, feel free to ask the same immediately. We don't have to necessarily wait for the end of the session. Yeah. I hope you all can see my screen now. What we'll do is we'll spend today to look at how Asanify can help you manage all the attendance nuances that might be there in your organization, and any combination of how different policies can be set up. Maybe some employees in the team follow a certain policy versus the others, how that can be configured quite easily on Asanify. We'll spend about half an hour to have a look at that. You all can see my screen. Just say yes if you can.
Yeah, Gaurav.
Awesome. Okay, great. So as you can see, I'm logged in as an admin. So what I'll do is, most of you would already be aware of how the onboarding part is done, where your employee data, etc., is onboarded. So I'll jump straight to the attendance part. For attendance, the one thing to note is we don't follow a straight-jacketed approach that it's a one-size-fits-all. You can configure different types of policies. Some employees may be on flexi hours, some may be 6 days working, some could be alternate Saturday working. All that can be configured quite easily on Asanify. It's just that to begin with, in the attendance policies, if you go here, you can configure those different policies and they'll appear one by one here. So like you can see in this demo account, there are 2 policies already. I'll create one more policy right now. But at any point, you can create those policies and assign those policies to different employees. So one of these policies which is ready, I can select whichever employee I want to assign it to, either one by one, or I can just say all my marketing team or finance team get assigned this particular attendance policy. It is easily configurable like that. Yeah. You will also see that some of these policies are night shift policy. Asanify allows you to maintain a night shift also in case your people are working beyond 12 o'clock at night. So you can choose when the clock gets reset for you. Yeah. If some of the policies are no longer operational for you, you can always mark them as inactive, and then they'll go and sit in the inactive bucket for you. And all the active policies is what your employees will be marked under. Yeah, the star sign that you see here, this is for default marking of any policy. If you keep any of the policies as star marked, it essentially means that that policy will be valid for all the new joinees who are also coming on board on the system. Yeah. So let's take a look at what the attendance policy creation is all about. Let's say I will create, let's say, a morning shift policy right now for the test purpose right now. I can define the description of whatever the policy might be. And then this is where I can define what time does my shift start. So let's say the shift starts at 9 o'clock and ends at evening 6 o'clock, let's say hypothetically. Now, you can just say that mine is a simple policy. It starts at 9, ends at 6, and there's no break hour in between, and I'll save it. Or there are advanced options where you can define how do you want the system to track the attendance. Let's say, is single clock in sufficient, or the employee should do both clock in and clock out. Now, for many companies, it happens that only single clock in is enough to mark the attendance for the day. I don't have to see, how long did you work, or did you clock in or clock out both or not. In many cases, single clock in is sufficient, but for most of the companies, you'll also see that employees are supposed to check in the morning and check out. So if I select it as no, it basically means that for employees to be marked full day, single clock in is not sufficient. They'll have to clock out also. So which basically means that if they are only clocking in and my policy says that clock out is also important, they will be marked absent for that day because the system will not know when they left the company. Yeah. Similarly, you can also define how do you want the clocks to be calculated. Is it the first clock in the morning and the last clock out in the evening? Or if people are doing a clock in, clock out for their breaks or anything like that in the middle, do you want to calculate the duration between those clock in and clock out pairs? This becomes especially useful even when you have, let's say, the biometric integration, or you're uploading the biometric output on Asanify. If there are multiple timestamps that are coming in, how the system takes a look at the duration can be defined here. Yeah. Then the next question is, do you want to also qualify how many hours are needed? Because see, attendance marking is not just about clock in and clock out. While defining the policy, you can also define that I want my people to work, let's say 8 hours a day. If they worked anything less than 8 hours, let's call it a half day. Or if they worked less than 4 hours, let's call it 0 day. So then I can choose to define it that for my full day to be called complete, let's say the employee must have worked for 8 hours. Or for half day to be complete, the employee must have worked for at least 4 hours, which essentially it means that if an employee has worked 7 hours and 59 minutes, let's say, he will be called a half day present. The other half day will be called as either absent or mark a leave, or it will come as a loss of pay when you're running the payroll. Yeah. Similarly, if half day qualification is 4 hours, if somebody has worked 3 hours, 59 minutes also, it will be classified as a 0 day. Yeah. And looking at that, employees can also go and regularize it. If for some reason they had to leave office early for some customer meeting or anything like that, they can regularize with their line manager's approval. Yeah. Second thing is, once I have defined these classifications, then the system wants to also know what happens when the employee clocks in after my start time. So if I've said 9 o'clock is my start time, what happens when the employee comes at 9:15 or 9:30? Either I can say that it doesn't matter, as long as they do their 8 hours and 4 hours, I'm okay. Or I can say that no, only a certain grace period should be there. Employees need to clock in by, let's say, 9:30, and after that they should be marked as late. Or I can say that no, so let's say if I say that I'm allowing a grace period, so let's say 9 o'clock is my shift time, but I am allowing a 15-minute grace period for people, and only after that you should be marked as late. And if you are marked as late, how should the system recognize that? Is it that, I want certain loss of pay days to be calculated? So I can say that, let's say, if an employee is late for 4 days in a month, it should be counted as half a day of loss of pay. You can call it half a day of loss of pay, or you can choose to say that I'll net it off against the leave later on. Yeah. So this is a one-time activity of setting up the policy, and it's important to understand each of these parameters so that going forward, whenever the employees are clocking in and out, the policy comes into effect. Then I can say what is the start day of the week. Do the working days vary by the different weeks of the month? Now, often it happens that second Saturday is off or fourth Saturday is off. In Asanify, you can actually define it by the week, what Saturdays are working or what Sundays are working, week by week status. Yeah. Or if it is constant for you for the entire month, you can just say that my work days don't vary by the week. It starts at Monday and it continues till Saturday every single week. Yeah. And then in the last stage, I can review the policy. And if everything is as per what I have created, which it is right now, I'll just simply create the policy. Yeah. So for any policy, it's important for you to spend 5 minutes to think about how you want the enforcement of the policy to be done. And basis that, the configuration can be done. And once you've done that, you can simply select the employees either by department or one by one, whichever way. Or I can simply say that this is my policy, which is valid for all. Hello. I'd request you to put yourself on mute if you're not talking, or unmute yourself if you have any questions to ask at any time. Yeah. So with this attendance policy done and you have assigned it to individual, what the employees are left to do is quite simply, when they log in and the homepage opens, they are supposed to clock in the morning and clock out in the evening. So let's say I am the employee right now and I'm clocking in, and the morning shift policy which I created has been assigned to me. There is a geofence rule. Okay, there will for this particular employee there may be a geofence rule, so I'll just unfence myself from this rule, and I'll show you how this works. So let's say there must have been some assignment of a geofencing here. Yeah, I can see. So here I've been marked as a Kolkata geofence rule. I'll just unassign myself from that because I'm based in Mumbai right now. I'll not be able to log in otherwise. So let's say, and we'll come to the geofence bit also in a bit. So let's say now that I've unassigned myself from the geofence, if I clock in right now, as per the policy, the system will allow me to mark my attendance. Now, as you can see here, the clocking in is successful. As of right now, my status is full day absent. Now, what it means is, since I have defined the policy in a way that only after I've done 4 hours do I become half day. Since I've clocked in just now, right now I'm absent because I've not even completed half day. Yeah. So whenever your people log in at any point in time, they'll be able to see that, okay, 12:12 was when I logged in. Expected clock out time for full day is 8:12. The system has been built in such a way that there is full transparency to the employees. They can look at the policy, they can look at the today's status on a real-time basis by clicking here as to how long they're supposed to work. Yeah. Now, another thing to notice here is when the employees do the clock in and clock out on the Asanify system or through our web app, the location also gets tracked for that employee. So let's say I have logged in just now. If I go as an admin or as a line manager of this employee, if I go and select this employee for a certain date, I'll be able to see the exact geo tag of where the person was when the clock in had happened. Now you saw before I was clocking in, I could not clock in because I was geo-fenced under the Kolkata office. Now since the geolocation is getting tagged at all the times, you can also define your office area saying that let my people log in and log out only when they are in a certain radius of my office premises. So right now I had to unfence myself from Kolkata so that sitting in Mumbai, I can do my attendance tracking. But I can very easily create a geofence rule also. So let's say if I create a geofence rule, let's have a look at that also. So far, any doubts, anyone, about how the policy creation is happening? Any nuances in your company setup that you might see which you want us to talk about? Okay, I'm
Hi, Gaurav.
Yeah.
Can I just budge in between? Sorry, I just joined in late. I just have one clarity to be assigned, because see, we have second Saturdays off, which which has just been introduced into the company. So I have already done a attendance policy, but that has not been defined as of now. The second Saturday holidays. So. Can I do the changes on the existing policy itself, or do I need to create one?
Absolutely. Sorry, I did not get which company are you talking about?
This is from Bima Food and
Bima
Private
Food. Of course.
Yeah.
So what you can do in Bima is, I understand that policies have already been created. Once the policy is created, let's say look at the morning shift policy that I created just now. If I go to view edit, certain parameters of the policy can be edited also. And it will come into effect the moment I have done the edit policy. Let's say if I go to edit policy for an existing one, I can define that, okay, my shift start time is this, my shift end time is whatever. And I can say that my start day of the week. Now, in your case, if the second Saturday has suddenly become off, that's the scenario you said, right?
Yes, that's right.
It has now become a holiday. So I will say that in the edit policy, now my working days are varying by the week of the month. So by default, no. In your case, in the Bima Food case, what you can do is you can just make it as yes by default, since the old policy was no. And then I can say that my other Saturdays are working, but second Saturday is off. So I can simply just define it like this and update it, and the policy will come into effect immediately. There will be certain parameters in your policy that you have created, but you're not able to edit it because that's a core feature. In that case, what you should do is just mark that policy as inactive going forward and create a new policy from scratch, which will come into effect from that day itself, and assign it all over again. Many of the parameters are editable, but some of the parameters may not be editable, in which case you can mark the policy as inactive and create a new policy from scratch the way we did just now. Is that clear?
Yes, it is clear. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Also, another thing to note here is when we are creating the policy, and especially in the night shift kind of a scenario, I know many of the cloud kitchens that we work with or restaurants, Beamer may not be falling in that category. I think your people are working mostly day shift, franchisee outlets also. But you can also say that, let's say my start time is evening 8 o'clock and my end time is morning, let's say 2 a.m. And I can say that my workday start time, which is basically at what time does my workday start. So if the day is ending at 2 o'clock, I can say that, let's say my workday start time is 5 a.m. in the morning. What essentially it means is workday start time determines within the 24 hours at what stage is the clock resetting, which means at 5 o'clock every day, the system will do a status check to see who was present, who was absent, full day, half day, whatever. So by default, the workday start time is 12 midnight. But in case you have employees who are working till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night, you can always define the shift start time, end time, and the workday start time as well. Yeah. So I hope that is clear. So we'll come back to how we had done the clock in and clock out. Let's say I also want to create a geofence. I'm sure, I think if I'm not wrong, in Beamer case, you guys are also following the geofence rule where people can do the clock in and clock out only from the restaurant outlet, right?
Yes, we have it only for the corporate office at the moment. So yes.
Okay, you can also define it for your different locations, and the employees of that particular franchisee outlet can be geofence. So let's say so for creating a geofence, it's very simple. In the company setting, you have to go and create your multiple work locations. So if I'm working out of 10 different sites, I just need to create those 10 locations and assign those work locations. Like for example, right now you can see in this demo account, there are 20 work addresses which are already there. Kolkata location, Bombay location, etc., etc. So even within a city, you can define 5 offices. And then when you go to employee, you are assigning you can assign the work location to each of the employees. So let's say right now I was assigned to, let's say my work location is Gurgaon location has been assigned to me, let's say for this particular employee. So you can edit it and assign any of the office work locations that you have created from here. You can also do a bulk edit or an upload, whichever way you want. Yeah, but it's important that in case you are creating the geofence, the employees are tagged correctly to the office that you are creating a geofence on. Is that clear? So I'll now create a geofencing policy. So if I go to attendance and geofence, let's say I'll create a fresh policy where I will say that this is my Chembur Bombay policy. It's just the office location that I'm sitting in right now. So amongst the multiple office addresses that I have created, this is the Chembur office location. So I'll select this address. The system will automatically pick up the lat and long for that particular location. And you can then define what is the radius that you want for this particular geofence policy. So the system would have picked up the lat long, and you can here define that whether you want a 50-meter acceptance or a 100-meter acceptance, or whatever would be the radius that is defined by you. Now, this is a function of how big is an office space. Like there are some large companies that we work with where the office itself is spread over 300 meters radius. So in that case, you need to define the geofence radius accordingly. Yeah, like you saw, I could not clock in because my location was based in Kolkata, and I could do that after after I unfenced myself. So that is something which is critical before you assign a geofence policy. Just make sure that the employees are marked correctly in their work location and the radius has been set accordingly. There are times that people are logging in and out from their mobile devices, and the location setting for the phones also needs to be accurate. There are enough search articles that you can search here on how to do the phone or the laptop setting so that your location is tracked correctly. Yeah. Now let's move to once the attendance is tracked and I have created the policy, what happens next? Like in this case.
Okay, can I interrupt?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have another question regarding geofencing. If I have an employee who has who's working 3 to 4 days out of one office and then is working 2 days out of another location, and I want to create a geofencing only for those 3 days that 3 or 4 days that he's working out of, let's say, Delhi office.
Right.
So would that be possible? That 4 days only of geofencing, and then the remainder 2 days would there would be attendance signing in, but that could be from any location.
Which company is this, or if you could just give a
DHN, Happy Nature.
Happy
DHN.
Nature. Is that Charu?
Yeah.
Hi Charu, thank you so much for the question. I understand. So unfortunately, you'll have to change it. See, an employee is tagged to one location by default. So if you are creating a fence for an employee, it's important that if you're changing the fence, then you have to change the work location and assign a new policy. At any point in time, the employee is having one location and one fence around him. Now, in your case, since it is oscillating too often and it is very difficult to go back and keep doing it every Monday and then Friday again and Monday again, you'd rather keep the employee out of the geofence. Let me just show you how that works. Let's say I had assigned, because see, geolocation is getting tracked any which ways. Okay, I had created one policy just now. Let's say, which one did I create? So what I need to do is I need to just unfence that employee because the location gets tracked automatically anyways. So on the map, you'll be able to see where the person was when the clock in and clock out had happened. And there are those location reports also that also can be created for you, where you are not necessarily restricting the access, but you are tracking the location, and there can be a report that you can pull out that my person was, let's say, in Udyog Vihar in Gurgaon, hypothetically, and you'll get the specific location. So like sector 18 Udyog Vihar was when the clock in had happened on such and such date. So you don't have to necessarily restrict people, especially the ones where the location changes very often. But people who are, this geofence should be used for people who are necessarily working from one location on an ongoing basis and the changes are not so frequent. Yeah, you will get the location lat long and name for all the employees any which ways. You don't have to necessarily create a fence for that.
All right. Yeah. Okay, no, so the reason why I was asking was because let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I necessarily have to be in the Gurgaon office. And then, Friday and Saturday, I have the option of logging in from one of the other office locations. But Monday through Thursday, it's important that I am in Gurgaon office only, and I should not be in any other location.
Got it. In that case, I would again say that don't fence the employee, but you can always create a report, and we'll talk about that offline also, that how that report can be created for you, where every week or every month or every fortnight, with whatever frequency you want, a location report can be pulled out that where was this employee on Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the last 2 weeks or for the last 1 week. So it is you are not restricting the access, but post facto, you can check whether the employee was actually where he or she was supposed to be or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
And once
Thank you.
No problem. Once these attendants are marked, when the employee logs into the clock, they can see, let's say, if I log in as myself right now, so this is the access that employees can see either for themselves, or if they are manager to somebody, they can do it for their direct reports also. At any point in time, they can see how their entire month has been looking. So as per the policy that has been assigned to me, whether I was present, absent, full day, half day, whatever the status would be, will be shown quite easily here. Now, since it's a demo account, nobody is clocking in and out. Most of the days will show absent. But as per the policy, it will show whether it was a company holiday or a week off or a late coming. All those status will get populated here quite easily for you to go back and check. And these are the reports which can also be spooled out from the analytics section as to what was the attendance status for an employee. Now, let's say hypothetically that on the 12th of August, I had clocked in at 11:30 at night and I forgot to clock out and I'm shown as absent. If I want to take a corrective action as an employee because I may have forgotten or the network was not working or I went out on a client meeting, I can simply regularize the attendance as well. Let's say if I do it for 12th of August, I can simply select the date and I can say that while the system is showing that I'm out, but I had actually clocked in I was in office at 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. and I had worked till whatever, let's say 6 a.m. and this will go to 6 p.m. And this will go to their manager for approval, and once the manager approves it, the attendance gets regularized. Since right now I'm logged in as the admin, I'll be able to do that automatically. It will get approved as an admin. So keeping this attendance on track is very important, not just from the perspective that your employees will know how much they have worked, but many people also want to link the attendance to the payroll activity. So looking at what loss of pay rule I have configured, or if somebody was absent, if somebody was coming late, what loss of pay rule I've configured, or absenteeism, how much money I'm deducting. Keeping attendance on track is very, very important. Yeah, many young startups also are not particularly stringent about how they are tracking the attendance, but still creating a policy is a prerequisite, because even for your leave management module to work, it is important that you first assign an attendance policy. I may say that in my startup, people are responsible and I don't want to track their in and out time, but you still have to create a policy, because the system needs to know that as per policy, Monday to Saturday is working. So that when somebody is applying a leave for Saturday, it was actually a working day. So attendance, even if you are not particularly stringent about it, it's important to get that right, so that leave management can happen, the payroll activity can run smoothly. And like Charu or Beamer Foods mentioned, if employees are supposed to be in a certain location, that can get done efficiently as well. Yeah. Any questions? I think that's about it from our side as far as attendance is concerned. There are multiple nuances that can get created. I think it is in the Beamer Food case itself, or maybe even Happy Nature. There are weekly off policies, right? It's a rotation weekly off. I work 6 days and I can choose which day in the week I taken off. So then there is not a set policy in that case. And how we do in case of Happy Nature or even Beamer Foods is you define the attendance policy as all 7 days working, because the restaurant is open all 7 days, or the food delivery business is open all 7 days. But in my leave policy, I assign one leave every week, which keeps getting reset every week. So the employee can choose whichever day he or she is not coming to mark that weekly off as a leave. The attendance policy will still say that your working days are all 7, but you can manage that with the leave assignment, which gets accrued to the employees. Is that clear, or that's getting a little confusing now?
No, it's clear. It's clear.
Awesome.
Sir, this said Veena.
Yes, Veena.
Sir, I need to know something. As we have already assigned the policy 6 days working, then to on 9th October, it was showing it was a week off, but then to it was showing absent full day. So what to do
Right.
then?
If it's showing like that, see, like I said, the clock gets reset and status gets assigned at the midnight or whatever work shift start time I've defined. Now it's possible that I have gone and given the policy in retrospect. So while the clock for that day has run already and the status has been captured, you can overwrite it through making the clock. You can message us on the chat and that can be done from the backend. Or what we can do is you can go to view edit clocks and simply revalidate the clock time. So let's say on let's say 13th of August, this is right. Let's say 13th of August. So if I have to refresh the clock, let's say on 13th of August, I will just go to view edit clocks. I will load the clock. I see that the in and out time is 9:36 and 11:07. Let's say if I have invalidated the clock and I'm saving it right now, the system will now refresh again. So now that I have invalidated it, so to say, and now I'm revalidating the same clocks, then the refresh of the status has happened again. So in case you have assigned the policy later on for that day, if it is not showing, just try revalidating the clock. It will get refreshed automatically. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, even I have one more query.
Mm-hmm.
It's related to the policy only.
Mm-hmm.
As a few of our interns have been given PPO, placement offer, so their policy should be changed to full time. That is
right.
So what should we do in that case?
Just update the assignment of policy. It's fairly simple. So once you've given once the nature of engagement of that employee has changed, if you go to attendance and policies, you can anytime unassign the policy and reassign a new one. So for any policy, if you go to update assignments, you can just remove the employees who might have been given or update the assignment for the new guys who are now falling under the full-time category. So once you update the assignment, from that day onward, that policy becomes effective for them.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think we are just a couple of minutes over time.
Gauraji, small doubt.
Hanji, yes, Vinod.
So when regularization, can we get a report that so and so days are being regularized other than clock in, clock out?
You can go to the requests and get all the attendance regularization report that is already available. I'll share that with you separately, how you can pull that out. So if you go to the request tab, all the requests that have been made by the employees in your company, whether it is attendance request or expense request, you'll be able to download that.
Attendance request. Okay.
Yeah. So the idea behind this training is there are reports which can be which are already there and you can pull it out. But the first step to doing it is just create the policy in a manner that is inclusive and it takes care of what is the expectation out of that employee or that team. Once you've done that, those things will be at an employee level, they'll be mapped correctly. As an admin or as a line manager, you'll be able to view your employees and pull out the respective reports. I'll send that out in the note. So if you just make note of that when we are circulating the video link also, we will share out how these reports can be pulled out.
Sure, Gaurav, noted.
Yeah. Anything else that we want to touch upon? See, we keep having these webinars every Wednesday, and I see some of you have become regular joinees to this, which is great. We will keep picking up the topics. Sophia does circulate a post through your Asanify chat. If there are any questions or any topics that you want us to touch upon, we'd be more than happy to have our next session planned around that particular topic. Yeah. Anyways, we are, I think most of us are already in touch on a day-to-day basis as well. Notwithstanding that, these webinar topics can also be selected as per what you want us to touch upon. Yeah.
Gaurav, sir?
Yes.
Even I wanted to know about the leave balances.
Leave balance, I think we had touched upon our leave management in our last webinar. Let's take that topic offline. You can reach out to us and we'll share with you how exactly it is handled. We had spoken about leave policy configuration, balance check, editing balance, all of that in detail in our last webinar. I'll share the recordings for that with you separately.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for your participation. I look forward to having you again next time.